You would have heard me go on, and I do repeatedly, about the palpable bias that is in our state broadcasters in this country. It's never best evident than on the curation of TVNZ News on a Saturday Sunday, because the loonies take over on a Saturday and Sunday, and I assume the adults leave home or go away and do whatever they do over a weekend, and let a series of kids with very strong leftist sensibilities take over the newsroom. Well, on a daily basis, it has to be said, that happens at Radio New Zealand News, which is why they've lost a third of their listenership over the last 5 or 6 years, and why they have a major trust issue, which even this government concede is stopping them from becoming a fully functioning and national broadcaster. All right. Well, here's a good example of that. And it's over the death and in the wake of an article penned in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, as you know, I'm not a Charlie Kirk fan in the fact that I was never aware of him. Okay, I knew that my children were, and they obviously consumed, certainly my son, a good portion of his conservative messaging, but it just wasn't my milieu, all right? So that's fine, and I didn't know who he was until, frankly, he got assassinated, but there you go. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, a series of Pacific, and then the Pasifika, and particularly Pasifika Christian community, there was an outpouring of sympathy and of support, not just for Charlie Kirk and his family, well, but in particular for his family, obviously his surviving family, but also for the ideas that he espoused, which sort of were, if you like, conservative Christian. And why wouldn't that be consumed by a Pacific Island community who have very strong conservative Christian views in this country and in the islands as well? But Radio New Zealand's Pacific journalist, a woman by the name of Coco Lance, very Pacific name, Coco Lance, has penned an article in the wake of the assassination in which she has, and Radio New Zealand have headlined, the fact that the Pacific Island communities in New Zealand and throughout the Pacific Island communities have a delusional religiosity when it comes to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's an extraordinary attack upon not just Kirk's philosophies and thoughts, but a suggestion by Radio New Zealand News that Pacifica people are stupid, ill-informed, misled, and living in a Christian delusion. Kirk's conservative views are portrayed as anti-immigrant, anti-queer, pro-policing, pro-empire, whatever that is, and run counter to the values of Pacific communities now mourning him, reports Radio New Zealand News. Radio New Zealand News goes, yet again, quoting a Samoan Fijian writer, not a leader, not a church leader, not a politician, nobody's done anything, she's just a writer for God's sake, is their authority, who a Mamali Olive Wesley, in which she writes, yet again, we, this is the Pacific Island peoples, align ourselves with those who uphold the very systems that shrink us. Oh, great, another critical theory Marxist. And espouses this view at a length and given lengthy and loving and sympathetic treatment by Radio New Zealand News, who then assemble after her particular diatribe 2 or 3 religious figures who agree with her. There's no countervailing argument, there's no balance, there's just ideological hatred and bias in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. That's only been published in the last 24 hours. You can go onto Radio New Zealand and see it for yourself. But it's still this fundamentalist mainstream media view that only the left and liberal view not only has any relevance, but has any credibility and credence. And only New Zealand should have that view imparted. If you put together the particular view on Hobson's Pledge, the ongoing bias, particularly of the TVNZ newsroom over a weekend, and then of Radio New Zealand and its continual tremmelling of any opinion and any vantage that does not agree with its own, and its, more importantly, championing of views that it agrees with. You'll never see it giving the same treatment to conservative views on our national broadcaster. Then you have a mainstream media, and particularly a state-funded mainstream media, that is undermining New Zealand freedom of thought, freedom of expression, and freedom of speech. and in this particular case, I guess at Radio New Zealand, freedom of religion, on a daily basis. The true Quislings, the true Quislings in this world are our mainstream media, and they will continue to be. Those are my thoughts this morning. What are yours?